Good afternoon. Well, the National Security Council met this afternoon, as you know, and this is a body set up under the current government that brings together the ministers responsible for every aspect of national and international security, the heads of the intelligence agencies, the chief of the defence staff, and so on, all the senior officials and ministers in Britain responsible for national security. We met this afternoon and we decided unanimously that the use of chemical weapons by the Assad regime is unacceptable and that the world cannot stand by in the face of that. The Cabinet will meet tomorrow to discuss the United Kingdom's response, and of course, as you know, the Prime Minister will present the government's case to Parliament tomorrow as well. In parallel with that, in New York, we have called together a meeting of the permanent 5 members of the UN Security Council. We believe that it's time the United Nations Security Council shouldered its responsibilities on Syria, which for the last 2.5 years it has failed to do. And we have put forward to them a draft resolution which condemns the use of chemical weapons, which demands that the Assad regime cease to use such weapons, and which resolves to do what is necessary to alleviate the suffering of the Syrian people affected by chemical weapons attacks and to try to prevent the further use of the chemical stockpiles of the Assad regime. I expect there will be further discussions in New York over the coming days, but we have started those discussions about a UN resolution, because by far the best thing would be if the United Nations could be united, unlikely as that seems in the face of vetoes from Russia and China that we've had in the past, but we have to try to do that. We're clear that if there can't be agreement, if there isn't agreement at the United Nations, then we still have a responsibility, we and other nations still have a responsibility on chemical weapons. This is the first use of chemical warfare in the 21st century. It has to be unacceptable. We have to confront something that is a war crime, something that is a crime against humanity. If we don't do so, then we will have to confront even bigger war crimes in the future. And so we continue to look for a strong response from the international community that is legal, that is proportionate, and that is designed to deter the further and future use of chemical weapons. So this is what we have been engaged on over the last few hours. Well, this is a very different situation from anything that happened over Iraq. I think we have to be clear about this. This is a situation now in Syria in which 100,000 people have died. There are 2 million refugees. Chemical weapons have been used. This is not a situation in which we're waiting for intelligence to see if certain weapons exist. The Assad regime acknowledges it has chemical weapons. There are previous instances over the last year when we believe it's used chemical weapons. There is no plausible alternative explanation for this other than that they have used chemical weapons. It is a quite different situation from Iraq, an entirely different situation, and our government is going about it in an entirely different way, with a National Security Council, with clear legal advice from the Attorney General, going to Parliament with the maximum information that we can provide. So there is no comparison between this and Iraq. This is where a crime against humanity has been committed, and there can be no argument about that. And we have to decide whether the world responds to such a crime in such a way as to reduce the chances of it happening again.